Getting around Paris comfortably, easily, and quickly can be a task. Fortunately, there's an app for that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of apps for that. Figuring out which apps to use can be time-consuming and frustrating, especially when you have a limited amount of time to spend in the city. So today, I am going to go over my 5 favorite apps that I could not live without. I'm Jerry. I'm a GenX-Pat. GenX-Pat? Living in Paris for over a decade. Come with me and let's do Paris using our smartphone apps.
The first app that I want to talk about is pretty basic, Google Maps. You need a really good Maps app when you come to Paris, and Google is a great all-arounder. But stay tuned and I'm going to tell you exactly where Google excels and what feature is the most important one for when you're in Paris and why. But the reason it's a great all-arounder is for the amount of information it gives you. Google Maps gives great suggestions for nearby venues and attractions, and it also gives you a lot of different options for ways to get where you want to go. Now, some of you may be wondering, what about Apple Maps? I prefer Google Maps to Apple Maps, but hear me out on this one. I love Apple products, and those who know me know I love Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. But Google Maps has one important feature that makes it much easier to use. This is how Google handles tracking my location. My location is indicated by a little dot, and there's sort of like a headlight in front of it, and it shows which direction I'm pointing. So as I rotate and I turn, the headlight shows me which direction I'm pointing, so I will know which street is in front of me, and therefore which way to go to get to my destination. Apple Maps uses a similar location tracker with a dot with a little headlight in front of it, but when I turn, it's not the dot that turns, it's the map that turns. And I just find this more confusing and more difficult to figure out, especially when I'm in an unfamiliar place and I just want to get where I'm going. Like many older cities, Paris was not built on a grid. The streets can be very irregular. Like this area, for example, where you have several streets coming together at very unusual angles. If you're using a map, you need that map to make it pretty clear which street you are currently on and which direction you're facing. I find this a lot easier when my placement marker rotates rather than the map. That is why I prefer Google Maps to Apple Maps. The second of my top 5 favorite apps is Citymapper. This is probably the best transportation app for Paris. I'm going to give you a brief overview on how to use it and some of its nicer features. After you've downloaded and installed your app, enter an address in the Start window. It'll give you several options and you can add favorites and all sorts of things. And then you add your end destination. I love this. Look at all the public transportation options. Suggested routes, bus only, bicycles, mopeds, and rideshare. Tap your choice and it will display your route on a map and also give you a lot of really useful information like any expected delays with the train, but it gets pretty detailed. It'll tell you how long it's going to take to walk to each station and where you need to change, if you do need to change metro trains, and how many stops you're going to go, as well as the name of each of those stops. This app will even advise you on which part of the train to sit in, whether it's the front of the train, the middle, or the back. It will do this for any route that you select. If you tap any part of the itinerary, the app will show you in more detail what you need to do, such as how to walk to the station or from the station to your destination. When you're ready to go, just tap Go, and the app will give you step-by-step assistance. The third of my 5 favorite apps is the Bonjour app. This app is from the France transportation system, and it is great for buying transportation tickets that you can use to ride on the metro, the bus, or the RER. If you're interested in using your Apple Watch to access the Paris transportation system, you should check out my other video on that, which is called Take the Paris Metro Using Apple Watch. Now, back to Bonjour. This app has a map that displays transportation stops and stations. As I mentioned earlier, you can buy a transportation ticket, you can rent a bike, you can also set up disruption alerts. One of the things that I like most about this app are their maps. They have system-wide maps, and they also have per-line maps for the bus, the RER, and the metro. Of course, the best part of Bonjour is recharging your Navigo card or buying electronic Navigo tickets. Navigo is the name of the card or pass that you use to access the metro, bus, RER, trams, the public transportation system in Paris. The fourth of my top 5 favorite apps for getting around Paris is the G7 Taxi app. G7 is a taxi company in France, and their app is the way that you can order a taxi without having to call them. And the way that you pronounce this in French is not G7, it's G7. G7. Now, you may be wondering, what about Uber? Well, we do have Uber here, Uber as it's called in France, and you can use the same app. We also have several other ride-sharing services like Bolt, but we don't have them all. You cannot access Lyft here, so you won't be able to use that app here. For me, I like to use G7, because I prefer to use an industry that's regulated. I feel that it is more reliable. I feel like it's safer. It's more predictable. This is not a paid endorsement. This is just my recommendation for anyone who's like me. At this stage in my life, I'm 57 in 2024. I prioritize comfort, safety, and convenience. And that's why I recommend G7 over the ride-sharing companies. If you're concerned about saving money, my recommendation would be to use taxis only as needed, and for all other methods of transportation, to use public transportation like the metro or the bus. They're much more cost-effective and they're very efficient. I use the bus all the time, and I actually think it's the best-kept secret for seeing the city in Paris, period. So back to the G7 app. It's pretty basic. You input your pickup point, and you can input your destination, although you don't have to. If you don't speak French, the best idea would be to input your destination so you don't have to try to explain that to the driver when you get in the car. I would recommend against assuming that your taxi driver is going to speak a language other than French. Some of the other nice features of this app are being able to order a taxi up to 30 days in advance, knowing where the taxis are around your pickup location, an estimation of the time it'll take for them to arrive at your destination to pick you up, and the best thing, no surge pricing. I mean, come on, how great is that? Okay, so the last of my top 5 favorite apps is not a transportation app. It's a weather app, and it's called Umbrella. The weather in Paris can be pretty inconsistent. The Umbrella app makes it pretty easy to see what the weather prediction is going to be like for rain for today and for tomorrow. Well, there you have it.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please click like or subscribe if you're so inclined. I will see you next time. À la prochaine.